we are live on the Access 360 podcast. This is episode number 4. We've got some incredible people on today. Brian May, Don Davis, myself, David Rush. We may even have some other people joining as we do go along on this little journey. We love to make it a short but powerful journey, 30, 45 minutes. We'll see how long we go. And today, we've got an expert in digital marketing, media. I've had the pleasure of getting to know Don for a couple of weeks now, I think it is. I was unexpectedly on his first of a new podcast that he has launched. So we may talk a little bit about that as we go along. We might talk about how we leverage our good friend ChatGPT along the way, and we'll see how this conversation plays out. If this is your first time tuning into an Access 360 podcast, we say that we're bringing great people together, great ideas together, great things together, because together we evolve. Together we may learn something. Together we may find a new idea, find a new perspective. And I think the more we come together, collaborate, mastermind, cool stuff happens. And hopefully, if you're listening, you get a little touch of that as well. And feel free to give some thoughts and feedback as we go along. But let me just check in. Brian, how are you doing today? You're in a car, and I'm going to put this into speaker mode. So we'll do that when the stream is going. Over to you, Brian. What's going on?
I'm doing fantastic. I'm extremely tired today. I have a bunch of things going on, but of course I always make time for this and for you. And just getting a lot done, which is amazing.
Good. We're like on the move. We're in conversation on the move. Brian is on the move in his car, and that's the energy here. We just got out of a company-wide meeting, and one of the things that Phil, our founder, said was like energy and enthusiasm. We were talking sales, we were talking business, but it was, how do you bring and transfer energy and enthusiasm? If I'm like, oftentimes, Brian, you and I have talked about this. It's like if you're kind of like, hey, really excited to see you today, like it doesn't really scream excitement, does it, Brian?
Yeah, it's funny. I just had this conversation with someone in the last 2 days who's doing sales. I don't think it needs to be overly, I think some people overdo it. And if that's your personality, I'm fine with it. Just don't try to emulate something that you're not. I'm not an over the top kind of guy, but I think that transferring conviction is really what it is. Because if you transfer your conviction onto someone else, you don't necessarily have to scream. If you think of a very sad situation, like a doctor basically saying, hey, we need to operate right now. He's not, hey, John, guess what? We get to operate on you right now. But he's transferring conviction, hey, you can't leave. We got to do this now. It's now or never. So I think conviction is more important than the whole,
Yeah, well, it's funny you say that, because sometimes we course correct inside of a conversation. But now that you said that, and I think about Don and how I've met him, how I've communicated with him, Don's somebody who has that, my experience, Don, I'm giving you a little bit of I think it's a acknowledgement and compliment, is I've just perceived you as someone who's very grounded, convicted, I'd say certain in your knowledge base, how you work with clients, how you do things. And I'm like, this guy's got his stuff together. So I'll introduce you into the conversation with that. But Don, how are you doing today? And what do you say about all that?
Yeah, thank you for having me on. I appreciate it. And it's great to be here. Good to meet Brian for the first time. And so, looking forward to the conversation. And certainly one around energy is one that, that I can tie in with, but also, back to what you said, it's funny because this is the second time I feel like this same point about, hey, look, you're you have your sort of your level of expertise, and then one of the things that I like to look for in people is that genuine sort of approach, right? So where you don't know something, just tell me that you don't know it, and where you do know things, tell me what it is that I need to do so that I can get better, right? So that, I mean, those are sort of the things that, that I definitely resonate with, that, I oftentimes share with my clients. It's like, look, you're going to get from me what I know. And when it starts to get on the fringe, I'm going to tell you, look, I don't know this, but also if I know that I can go figure it out, give me a chance to go figure it out. Because in most cases, most of my clients anyway are pretty surprised that, hey, look, there's some pretty fringe areas that we get into where it's like, hey, look, we want to do this and this, and we don't know exactly how to do it. And I'll just tell them, look, I don't know either, but let's go learn together. And in some cases, that's the right approach. In other cases, they need a guru or they need an expert. And I feel like that's okay too, to just say, hey, look, I'm not that person in this case, but also, all of us have broad networks. So leverage your network and leverage the people that and bring those people in.
Yeah, I think that's such a good point, because it played out. I think, what you're saying initially with the interview yesterday with Carl, and it was like, hey, just tell me what you know, tell me what you don't know. We'll do an exercise. I actually don't expect you to be perfect. I want you to stumble, so I know, one, how you think. I know that you're being yourself, and I know where you're at and where you're not at, and then I can make a more educated decision, whether that's to hire or that's how we work with our client. Like, I just need transparency. And I think sometimes that's one of the biggest, we'll get into this now, because I want to, I think the topic for today is a little bit about operational, like how do we optimize operations? And then two, how do we market effectively? But maybe I'll ask that question for you, Don, is how do you ensure that, like if authenticity is the goal and we're going to have a team and we're going to have systems, like my thought is there's got to be some measuring and monitoring that allows us to see if they're doing what they said they were doing and that they're at a level that they said they could be at. How do you look at kind of ensuring authenticity? And I think it's demanded by, like, hey, are you doing the stuff you said you're doing?
Right. Yeah. And I mean, I guess there's, look, I hold myself to that same accountability standard as well. Right. So, I mean, I walk the walk as a leader for the organization, just say, hey, look, we are an organization of marketing execution. I'm not D3 digital media marketing doesn't do strategy and things like that. We will work with clients, and then we have plenty of experts that we will bring in to kind of create the strategic piece for our clients. However, whenever it comes down to like, okay, let's go execute on this thing, I need to know that I have a team that understands that part. And also, when they get into trouble, I need them to communicate. Like, I mean, the worst situation in my part, having a remote team, is whenever they back away and I don't know that they're in trouble and they just kind of sit and try and figure it out themselves. Because look, I mean, we have other brains on the team, and if I can't figure it out, I can bring in other people that can help us sort out whatever it is. And to me, the biggest thing that I got to figure out in the interview process is this something that somebody's comfortable with or not? Because if they're not, they're probably not going to work, right? I mean, I just sort of have to get quickly to that answer. But also, if there's somebody that can call out sort of, hey, look, this seems like an impossibility for me, a real challenge for me. And, this is where I'm struggling. That's an optimal situation for me, because if I can't help them myself, somebody else on the team can. So that's what I'm sort of looking for oftentimes in people that I'm hiring, but especially from people that are, on the team executing. Whenever they're having a challenge, like, tell us where the challenges are. We'll work it out. We'll figure it out.
Yeah, and I think it was clear that you'd had some experience in this realm just a little bit before, if not a lot of it, because that's one of our biggest challenges sometimes, is certainly with somebody who maybe, I'll use virtual staffing as the medium, but new to virtual staffing, it's like a whole new world. It's like trying to figure out how to operate Go High Level for the first time, and you can barely like click on the right screen to put a button in. And so that's the challenge sometimes, is like meeting client where they're at or meeting person where they're at, but we need to know where they're at. And then we need to be able to position them to succeed in whatever that particular scenario is. Brian May, what do you got? Anything on all of this conversation so far?
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, listen, you can't be afraid to ask questions, right? And I think that when you're truly confident and in the expert category, you don't care if you don't know. And I think that when people they pretend or they don't want to sound stupid, it makes them sound stupid, right? The number one way to not be cool is try to be cool. So it's like you have to be okay with asking questions. And listen, it might be as simple as, hey, Don, like, what'd you mean by this? Oh, okay, I didn't know what you were talking about. Or, wow, I have no idea what you're talking about. We either have to go over this or you have to give this to someone else, depending on how much time we have. And it comes to my mind where I meet people all the time in New York City that are super successful, like crazy, crazy successful, like own freaking buildings, and they don't know who Alex Hormozi is. That doesn't take away the fact that that guy's worth 20 million, 30 million, 40 million and owns buildings. Like, yeah, we know who Alex Hormozi is because we're in that crew, but that doesn't take away the fact that that guy is worth so much and so successful. And so, like, he's not like timid, like, oh yeah, I think I know who Alex Hormozi is. He's just like, who the fuck is that? Because he doesn't care. So that's my take on it.
I like it. I like it. We've got a new cover here. We've got a new AI agent. Phil is in the room. Phil, I'll bring you into the conversation in just a minute. So this is exciting. Sometimes I wish we had like a table and this was live studio, but this is the next best thing because we are in a Zoom room and I may have to take out the note taker because it's on screen for me right now. But I wanted to get into, as you were saying that, Brian, and Don, do you want to give us just a little bit of the background of how you got into the business that you created? And, for me, I've known about Go High Level. I've dabbled in Go High Level, and I know that's one of the mediums that you use. So maybe give us a quick, like, how you got into forming your business and then where you really are focusing in terms of clients and the business that you're building.
Sure. So, well, my path to digital marketing is just as weird as my career, I would say. So, I sort of got into this whole thing based on the fact that I had a consulting agency where I was trying to figure out with digital marketing and social media marketing, how do I get that business to show up? And so I hired a bunch of companies, and in the end, kind of came back to the realization that, look, the companies that claimed to be experts weren't really helping me, and so I went out and found two of the world's experts, hired them, and said, okay, so look, I'm going to build a company that focuses on this, but my take on it's going to be slightly different than the way I think most digital marketing agencies take it. So if you think about sort of building your brand or building a brand in a company, you have to take that from, look, is the website that we have, is it getting traffic? Yes or no? Is the social media that I have, is it sort of driving traffic to my website? Yes or no? And so that's where D3 Digital Media started, was, around this whole concept of, how do we help people build social media brands and then also their website presence in a way that they can actually show up. And then it sort of morphed over time. I mean, we started using Go High Level primarily because if you think of most websites, they need some sort of form where people fill it out and say, here's something that I want from you. Maybe I want to book a meeting, or maybe I want to download a resource or whatever. Well, most of the time to do that on a website, you have to have a plugin to do it. And I just sort of looked at the cost of the plugins and I was like, look, I mean, I may as well just buy Go High Level and become an agency in Go High Level. And then that way we'll offer the forms, but we'll also collect all of these leads and be able to provide them back to the client. And we can also use the CRM as like an adder to the benefits that they're getting from us. So why not, sort of provide email automation and all the other things that Go High Level can do. And so that's sort of how we got started. So we just, continue to add more and more companies. I was talking to another company this morning they're making a CRM transition and they're already a client of ours. And I'm like, look, why don't you just at least evaluate this? Because as a part of what we're doing, rather than interfacing another CRM, you may as well just use this one, man. It's here.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, that kind of speaks to me because I feel like I've said it. I'm not certainly an expert in all that you do, but I've seen that kind of frustration for a lot of whether it's solopreneurs or people who have now built substantial businesses but don't have the right setup, integration, automations, which actually I'd say limits and puts a ceiling on what's really actually possible. And I did hear you say the word automation, so this is a good way for me to bring Philip Brown into the conversation, who is someone who founded Blue Pit Inc. and is someone who, well, Philip, I don't want to steal the thunder, but I know that like some of the areas that you focus on, including crushing the chaos, is helping businesses and people find solutions around automations, integrations, optimizations in terms of business flows. Is that right? And maybe say
Yeah,
hi. How are you doing today?
that's absolutely correct. So I took my corporate experience. So I ran or I still run a consulting company that is corporate facing, enterprise level project management, workflow optimization, systems and process creation. Essentially, I've helped companies like Harley Davidson, NASA, Disney, streamline their workflows and processes with regards to project management and kind of, like my event is crush the chaos, get rid of all the insane Excel spreadsheets, access databases, and whatever else they're managing everything with, and put it into one platform that we can view the reports, see everything, automate, pull in integrations from other, like HR systems, financial systems, etc. And what I did over the past couple of years is partner with two other guys to bring that same experience to the small and medium-sized businesses because I saw that they were having a lot of the same problems. They just didn't understand it within the same context of everything's really a project and I need to manage it from the time I think about it till the time I put it out to my prospective clients or put it out to my employees. So even operations like business as usual type things can be put into a system or a process so that you remove all the monotony out of it and you allow your employees to use their creativity if things need to be adjusted or, like the copywriters or the web developers, they need to be able to have a framework, but then have their creative side and keep that human element. So
Yeah.
with AI, that's kind of the new thing, the new kid on the block. With a lot of companies, they're thinking about how do I integrate AI into what I've already automated, or how do I bring automation in and use AI? Just simply because a lot of people are looking at ChatGPT or Sora or whatever else is out there and saying, "Hey, I want to do that, but I have no idea how to do it or how it even integrates with my company." So we've been helping smaller businesses do that and position themselves for growth so that they don't get stuck in that situation where they're managing everything in silos and there's no one way for the founder or CEO to see everything holistically.
Well, it's good to have you joining in, and I think all of that is critical. And what we've even found, because we have a home and auto insurance business that our founder started years ago and really successful. And there was going to be a tech integration that was from a third party vendor that didn't go well, and then all of a sudden it's kind of like, uh-oh, we gotta figure out solution. And so what we ended up doing is bringing in some internal geniuses who are helping to reframe and reformat the integrations rather than relying on some of the third-party systems that were promised that never were delivered on. So it's a real challenge and need. And I think it goes back to the conversation before you got here, which was how do we ensure, whether we're hiring an individual or a company or a business, that the outcome that we want is going to be fulfilled, because there's a lot of promise for how good it will be, and then it's like, well, does the rubber hit the road, and does it meet the standard that we were promised? And sometimes that's not the case, and unfortunately then it's like, oh well, we can fix that, but it's going to cost X, Y, and Z, and then you're like, well, that wasn't part of the deal either.
Right.
I want to give you a shout out though, Philip, because you invited me to crush the chaos. And what I noticed from your setup and build out was that like I was getting emails that were personal and helpful for me as a potential participant on the show. And it was like, oh, like there is a system here that he is using that is, you know, in some ways I'd say off the charts in comparison to someone like me who just says, "Hey, do you want to jump on my podcast?" So we might need to talk about that. But do you want to tell us a little bit about how you set up that? Because I think today's a topic
Sure.
about marketing, systems, those things.
Yeah, so the way that I work Crush the Chaos is I've set up obviously a system that is part automation and part VA. So I have a wonderful VA that works with me, and she puts the human aspect into it, as well as the feedback from me. But we use a mixture of a software called Walaxy, which works very well with LinkedIn, and then we pull everything down to go high level. So I'm a huge go high level guy as well. I have an agency, a number of clients in there, as well as I've been to a lot of events with Robin and that crew and talked to them personally. But that's I think what they're doing with that platform is probably going to set it up to be a pretty good competitor in the small and medium sized space for like HubSpot. Of course, Salesforce is more enterprise, so they really don't have the price point for the smaller companies. But yeah, the main methodology is you know to really simplify it is I look for individuals who I'm interested in, who have a role that I'm interested in learning about, do something that I'm interested in learning about, and just follow them and then reach out and say, hey, jump on a call with me. Let's chat a little bit about what you do, see if there's ways that we might be able to collaborate. During that conversation, I try to figure out how they're currently using automation because everyone's got their own creative way of implementing some automations in their business and then usually go from there. And those are the same individuals that I invite to, the monthly Crush the Chaos event. And from those calls, I pick panelists either from the connection calls that I do or from recommendations. I have a few people that give me recommendations and say, hey, you should talk to David. He'd be great to have as a panelist on your event. So, we reach out and then we do have a format for following up with the panelists and saying, hey, here's something that you can just like stick out there and post for your audience and so they can sign up for the event and come to our Zoom call and kind of enjoy the chat for an hour and a half. And it's a
Yeah.
super informal. It's kind of like this, right? It's an informal conversation about how everyone is using, automation and AI in their business. The funny thing is, a lot of it comes back to communication.
Yep.
That's
I'm
that's
gonna ask,
the
I'm gonna ask one
thread.
question, then I'm gonna go to Brian, and
Sure.
then we'll come back around to Don. But just for well, it's actually personal curiosity, but I think for anybody listening who has a podcast or is thinking about a podcast, to implement to like create the flows and implement it. And I think Don probably has some expertise here too. But Philip, like how long did it take for you to actually like put all of those systems in place so that now it's kind of automatic?
To put the systems in place, it only took about 30 days. The other piece is getting the interest and awareness out there. So that's the one that takes the longest, right? It's the same as if you start a podcast. You have to or if you start a YouTube channel or anything else, you just have to consistently put it out there to everyone and say, "Hey, I'm doing this on this date. Come and say hey, come listen in, whatever." Um, Honestly, the first event that I had, nobody showed up to. Like not even the panelists. I had one panelist show up and we sat there and talked for an hour and a half just on whatever topic. The second one I did, I had two people show up to, but all the panelists showed up. So we just ran it as if there was a whole audience listening, right? And the more you do it, the more people will show up, and the more you'll understand um, what's the best way that they respond. So LinkedIn is a tricky one because everybody will say they're attending your event, and then nobody will attend your event if you use the native LinkedIn, like I'm going thing. Um, but if they say they're going to attend and then you pull them down and have them actually register for a Zoom event, a Zoom call, then they get the reminders. That reminds them, oh yeah, I signed up for this. So the attendance rate kind of shot up after that. So there's little tricks that you figure out along the way, and some may have to do with your specific audience and what they respond to. Some may just be small tweaks like that Zoom event thing that we figured out. It's like, oh, we've got to get them to sign up for that instead of LinkedIn, because as good as LinkedIn is at reminding them, it's really not a committal type thing. You just click and forget about it sometimes.
Yeah.
Um, and I'm even I've done that too. Somebody's like said, "Hey, sign up for my newsletter." I clicked and now I have a newsletter that I forgot I signed up for, right? Or something like that. So
Yeah, it's the flood of information that then just is in the abyss and is quickly forgotten, even though we had the best of it intentions in a split second of maybe dopamine. Brian May, what do you got with all of this? Where are you at in the conversation?
Very interesting stuff. I just kind of got into Sora, which you mentioned at the beginning when you started talking. Crazy stuff. So I think people, business owners, people get very intimidated. I think that the problem that a lot of people have is that they're such experts and they know so many things that they're dropping names like Sora and expecting everyone to know what it is, and like GHL and stuff like that. And I see that on the construction side where a lot of contractors, they get way too technical and it's like, dude, are you going to fix the plumbing or not? Like, I don't know what this piece is called or anything. And so I think it's very important for people to know what something can do and not worry about how they can actually do it. Because if you don't even know what it can do, you don't know what to ask for. And I think people hire consultants or vendors, they don't even know what it can do. They're expecting them to be an expert, which maybe they are, but they don't know how to properly give them instructions, right? So like for me, for example, I hired one of David's guys. I went on a YouTube bender on CapCut, not to learn how to do it, but just so I can communicate with the guy. This is what I want to get done. I took some screenshots. Hey, I want to fly in the air and look like I'm a superhero. Before I saw that YouTube video, I didn't even know CapCut could make me a superhero. Now, of course, Sora makes me a superhero and it's even better. But I think like what can it do versus how to do it? And then like not being so close in the picture, because I know very successful people, and so do you, who don't know anything about automation, don't know anything about GHL, don't know anything about this. And it's like, well, what can it actually do? And it's like almost like having a Ferrari and you don't know that it can go really fast. And so you're not taking it to 150 miles an hour because you didn't even know. And every other car, you can't go above 100, just for example.
Love it.
yeah, if I could say something real quick, I like that aspect, Brian, because I was in a meeting with a few individuals last night, and that's one of the things that came up is like they said, remember what we see is like the 1%. Everyone else, you just have to remember when you talk to them, they probably never seen what you're talking about. They're not concerned with it. They probably don't even realize when they look at it on Instagram that it's a Sora video or that it's a VO3 video. They may not even realize it's AI because they're not paying that close attention. They're just flipping through and oh, hey, I want to watch that. So it's a whole different perspective, and we see a lot of that, and sometimes we get stuck in that trap of assuming everybody else knows.
Yeah,
So I like
that
that
could be easy.
perspective.
I
All
like
right.
that now on social media, you have to like on Instagram, you have to put push something to say that this is an AI video. Because I'm telling you, I'm even getting confused sometimes. Sometimes people send me stuff and it's so damn real, and then I Google it. You know what gets me all the time? The fake sequels from the 80s when they're like, oh, we're gonna do a real action Thundercats. And I'm like, really? No, they're not. No way.
That's funny. That's yeah. There's I mean RVA used some AI images of like me and Phil, and I was just like, It's like, it's not, I don't want that. Like, either use a completely fake or have it be a picture of me, but like the in between is like a little
Creepy.
weird. I'm gonna give Don one final comment, and then I've got a question for all of us before we wrap up, because we're gonna wrap up in the next 5 to 7 minutes. But Don, what's coming up for you as we're going around here?
Yeah, so I mean, the same thing, and it's great to hear what Philip is doing as well. Because I mean, to answer your question more directly, Brian, if you think about all of the applications that you deal with today, the benefit between automation and AI and what can be done is that you can essentially take lots of different applications outside of the main thing that you're using. So let's say a lead comes in for you from some outside source. Now you want to do something else with that lead, and it could be something like generate a personalized banner picture for that person and send it directly to them. All of that can be done today. I mean, all of that can be constructed today. Also, you could then spin that thing with Sora and or VO3 today, and you could say, hey, look, I want this to not just be a static picture. I want it actually to look like I was talking to them, in their voice or whatever. So you could actually, back to David's uncanny valley example where he's saying, hey, look, I don't like that stuff. There are certain uses for avatars and things like that where you could say, hey, look, I want to use this, and then I want to record all this information back and forth. When did somebody click a link? When did somebody engage with me? I mean, essentially, a lot of the stuff that we do with automation is like, one, sort of make repeatable workflows very repeatable. But the last part is, when you come to my website, or you come in as a lead from LinkedIn or whatever, we track every single interaction that we have with you. And every time you click on an email, I'm tagging you because I want to know, like, where are you interested? I can't know those things without sort of measuring them. And so, as from a digital marketing perspective, those are the things that we're doing for clients. And we use a ton of AI and automation. I tell people all the time that we're an AI digital marketing agency, but the reality is we're building personas and then pushing out content based on, AI and automation that way. And yeah, I mean, for me, it's been a game changer, and it sounds like Philip is helping a lot of companies in that way too.
Yeah.
Fantastic.
All right, so I'm gonna ask a final question for everyone. I can answer it first to kick us off. But like, what's one unique challenge you've been presented with from a client recently, and the unique solution? It doesn't have to be too crazy, but it's more just like, oh, like we just had this thing and we figured this thing out, and then we did this. One for us was, we have a client who they do recovery work in the state of North Carolina, and they're trying to integrate 24-hour call services and integrate their phone systems and technology systems and all these things. And now we're not that provider, but we had a relationship and partnership that allowed us to introduce them to it, where now they're seeing the ways in which they could optimize their particular technology stack and setup. And so that was something we didn't have a solution for. We actually found a way that we could produce it for them, but not by us, and that was a good one. So I'll pass it around. I think we're going to go back to Philip now, because you were let's go, Philip. What's a unique
Perfect.
thing that you've done recently?
So it's a go high level thing. So we have a client in Alaska. They're a wholesale grocer, and they get orders all the time. People calling in saying, "I need this, I need that, I need to get another set of this or whatever." And they're actually losing two people that take those orders and man the phones. So what we did is we instituted a voice AI system for them, which is now, we did it through high level because it's much more improved now. Created a knowledge base of all of the items that are available from their warehouse, so that someone can just call up and say, "Hey, I need to reorder 100 pounds of T-bone steaks," and it'll say, "Okay, yeah, we have that. Here's the wholesale price. would you like me to put that on your invoice and send it out to you? And boom, it does it. It does all the logistics behind the scenes are hooked into it. So you can basically order it, it puts it on your account, and you'll get it like the next week. And there's no human that touches it except for they do quality check on the back end before it goes out, but that's it.
And that's all integrated through Go High Level?
It's all through high level.
It's amazing. It's amazing. Don was saying yesterday, just like all the different nuances, and it's getting better. You just have to know how to use it and put it in place.
Oh yeah.
Brilliant.
Well, they just came out with like 300 updates that they announced yesterday, so I'm still
Wow.
going through that list.
Goodness. All right, Don, I'm going to go to you next. I'll go to Brian for the finale. But Don, what's one unique thing or solution that you've seen recently or provided?
Yeah, so the one, and this one's being worked on right now. We have a similar solution in place already, or I would say I use a similar solution. So I have a solution where whenever I put out a YouTube video, that YouTube video automatically generates a lead page. So essentially, it goes through and creates a page where somebody has to register with their email. Then from that, they get invited to all sorts of stuff, right? So by doing it, you're not just becoming a lead in my database. You're somebody that, you know, gets to go one level deeper. But you think about like YouTube, most people are going to go to YouTube, but these pages have started ranking, which is a good thing. They're showing up on Google. So I had a client come to me and just say, hey, look, you know, I want to have a podcast, but here's the problem. I don't want to have to do all the stuff, right? I just want to like record the thing and put the thing in a system and like have it like automatically do everything else. And so I was taking that same lead page concept, and I was like, look, we could use your RSS feed on the podcast side, and we could have that then generate the actual, you know, page for the podcast, create a story for the person that was on the podcast itself. So like, you know, have AI again go look at the transcript and pick out, you know, what are the main points that kind of were the main story here, and then generate that as an overall page. So you don't have to touch it again. You just essentially, you create your podcast, you publish it to your, wherever your main podcast feed is. And then from there, it just automatically creates all the rest of the assets. So, so that's what we're working on finalizing right now. But, that's one of the coolest things, non-GHL related. I was trying to stay away because I feel like we talked a lot about how awesome it is, but and I definitely love the platform and all the new features. So yeah,
That's awesome. Yeah, no, there's so many different possibilities. That sounds like a real good, and I raised my hand. I was like, I could use that. That sounds good. Brian May, quickly, because we have to wrap up in 2 minutes. What's one quick thing, and then I'll just
Totally.
yeah.
Basically going back to basics, you know, I'm working with this company. They have the AI stuff. They have a lot of they don't do GHL, but a lot of things that you guys mentioned, and just getting back to old school, calling them and talking to them the right way to get the information. And one of the things that if we had more time, I'd love to pick both your brains at is I want to figure out a way to record that phone call, suck the information, and then automate stuff. So now it's like real custom, and it's picking up the summary or the transcript of what we're talking about. So stay tuned for more, because I would love to pick your brain about that.
Love it. Love it. Final thought, Philip. I know we got to wrap up. How do we get in contact with you? And I saw a head nod, so it sounds like you're not far into Brian's idea.
Yeah, so I mean, you can get in contact with me through LinkedIn, which is just the normal LinkedIn URL, and then Philip Brown, 2 L's in Philip, all one word. Or you can go to PITT.com, and all my information is down at the bottom of that site.
Amazing. All right, Don, I know you have a hard stop, so I'll let you share, and then we'll wrap up if you need to drop off. But how do we get in touch with you, Don?
Yeah, the easiest way for all the things, right? So is go to drdondavis.me, and essentially you'll just see a giant list of stuff there. So it'll have my YouTube channel, it'll have ways to actually book meetings with me, it'll have my one sheet which explains kind of my background and all that stuff. But drdondavis.me.
All right, we got in before the 1 p.m. deadline here, Don. How was it for you today? Good experience?
It was awesome. Thank you. Thank you so much, David, for having me on. I really appreciate it. And I'm gonna drop, but thanks a lot for having me, and wish you all the best.
Thank you.
We'll see you soon.
Thanks, Don.
All right, Brian, how do we get in touch with you? And a closing thought, maybe.
Instagram, Brian.may, BRYAN.MAY. That's the best way. I love Instagram. I'm not really a LinkedIn person, but I want to be in the future.
Amazing. LinkedIn is coming. Philip, any closing thought? Was this a good, I know we crammed it in and you came a little bit after we began, but how was it for you?
Oh, it was great. Yeah, I got a little off on the time. I don't know why, but I mean, great information from Don, from Brian. I'd like to, like Brian said, I wouldn't mind, like picking y'all's brains a little bit further and seeing more about what you do. So
I think we got
Amazing.
round two is going to be getting scheduled. So I think that'll be good. We can link up with that. Awesome. All right,
Incredible.
Philip. All right, Brian. All right, Don. All right, anyone who's tuning in, thanks for tuning in, and we'll be talking soon. See you.
Thank you, guys. Thank you so much.
thanks.
Have a great weekend.
ChatGPT along the way.